2022 with 102 votes in favor, 8 against, and 50 missing, the Law 5272, most known as the Law for the Protection of Life and Family, was passed by Guatemala's Congress. The goal of this law is to protect the right of life, family, the institution of marriage between a man and a woman, freedom of conscience and expression, and the right of parents to guide their children in the field of sexuality. This law proposes that the Guatemalan state criminalizes abortion, imposing a minimum of 5 years in jail to whoever attempts or talks about abortion, as well as banning and criminalizing marriages between people from the LGBTQ+ community, declaring as invalid any attempt of any union. It also defines the family as being made up of a mom, dad, and children, leaving out diverse and single-parent families. Furthermore, the Law 5272 prohibits schools, public or private, from continuing with the comprehensive sexuality education program previously set, as parents are the only ones entitled to educate their children on this topic. This law first came up in 2017 because some people in Congress believe that there are currently minority groups in Guatemalan society that, following an international agenda, propose currents of thoughts and practices inconsistent with the Christian morality and promote models of behavior that violate the right of life, the natural order of marriage and family. These people decided that they needed to protect the Guatemalan citizens from any actions that threaten the balance of society and that propose danger for peace and harmonious coexistence between most citizens, by amending different parts of the Constitution and creating a new law. The Law 5272 created a national debate in 2017 and was archived to be discussed later. However, it was not until 2019 that the Congress tried to bring it up again. Whenever they did, they were met with street protests and resistance from young people, which make most of the population from Guatemala. Congress then archived the Law 5272 again, and they did not bring it up again for 3 years. It was not until February 2022 that Congress started talking about this law once again. The population assumed they were going to archive it again after facing some resistance, so they went out to the streets to protest. However, in a turn of events, the Congress continued with its course and ended up approving the law. The decision to pass this law was met with a lot of opposition from the Guatemalan population, from different politicians, and from other countries. The human rights representative in Guatemala, Jordan Rodas, insists that this law violates human rights and violates international agreements and conventions ratified by the state of Guatemala previously. Lucrecia Martinez Mac, a congresswoman who voted against the law, added that the Law 5272 disrespects and violates the right to free expression of thought and violates freedom of belief in a constitutionally secular country. Both politicians have called this law unconstitutional and have asked Guatemala's president, Alejandro Yamatei, to overrule it so that Congress either archives it again or makes substantial changes to it. Whether it is unconstitutional or not, only the president will be able to decide. However, people have taken to the streets to show that they are not approving of this law. The Law 5272 has been declared unconstitutional by many politicians, as it goes against previously established policies or laws. In 2008, a policy called Prevent with Education was passed by both the Education Ministry and the Health Ministry. This policy required schools to provide comprehensive sexuality education in order to prepare adolescents and children to lead healthy and fulfilling sexual and reproductive rights. Both ministries decided to sign on this policy because of the sudden increase in pregnancies in girls and adolescents, the increase in young people with sexually transmitted infections, including HIV, the high number of cases of gender-based violence in homes and in schools, and the existence of commercial sex networks and human trafficking. By following the law, both ministries created a plan in which they have a clear and forceful response to the complex reality, guaranteeing an education that increases the knowledge and decision-making capacity of citizens and the full exercise of their rights. Comprehensive sexuality education should cover a range of topics in 5 key categories: sexual and reproductive physiology, prevention of HIV and other STIs, contraception and unintended pregnancy, values and interpersonal skills, and gender and sexual reproductive rights. This hopes to help young Guatemalans strengthen their identity, which then hopes to make them successful individuals that can face complex situations throughout their lives. CSE also presents an opportunity to overcome differentiated and incomplete knowledge about sexuality. Understand sexuality as an integral part of life, which then should contribute to the eradication of gender-based violence, of all forms of discrimination, marginalization, or exclusion as accepted patterns of conduct, managing to influence the reduction of the rates of mistreatment, violence, sexual abuse, and incest of girls, boys, adolescents, and young people. Research has shown that comprehensive sexuality education is more effective than any other type of sex education. Data from a study conducted in 2015 show that 89% of survey students who reported having received CSE considered it useful or highly useful in their personal lives. The same study showed that 75% of survey students had never had any sexual education prior to what they learned in school. Another study conducted in 2001 showed that having comprehensive sex education programs at school can reduce behavior that puts young people at risk of HIV, STIs, and unintended pregnancy by half. The importance of CSE is supported by research, not only political or educational opinions. So in all Guatemala schools should follow the called prevention education policy. Comprehensive sexual education is a curriculum-based process of teaching and learning about the cognitive, emotional, physical, and social aspects of sexuality. CSE should be medically accurate, evidence-based, and age-appropriate. It should provide information about the benefits of delaying sexual intercourse, normal reproductive development, different contraception methods to prevent unwanted pregnancies, and sexually transmitted diseases. It should also provide information on a broad range of issues relating to both the physical and biological aspects of sexuality, as well as the emotional and social aspects. CSE recognizes that people are sexual beings and accepts it, so it focuses on more issues than just the prevention of pregnancy and diseases. CSE seeks to prepare young people with the knowledge, skills, attitudes, and values needed to determine their sexuality and enjoying it in a safe manner. To do this, CSE touches in 7 essential components: gender, sexual and reproductive health and HIV, sexual rights and sexual citizenship, pleasure, violence, diversity, and relationships. In addition to this, CSE should also help young individuals realize the importance of their health, well-being, dignity, and develop respectful social and sexual relationships. It should also help them consider how their choices affect their own well-being and that of others, while also understanding and ensuring the protection of their rights throughout their lives. Guatemala has currently one of the highest numbers in teenage pregnancies and births. Just last year, 2021, there were 72,077 registered births from girls ages 10 to 19. 2,124 pregnancies in girls between 10 and 14 years old, and 97,478 pregnancies in girls between 15 and 19 years old were reported. And in just January and February 2022, 12,379 births from girls ages 10 to 19 were registered, as well as 280 pregnancies in girls between 10 and 14 years old, and 20,321 pregnancies in girls between 15 and 19 years old were reported. A 2018 study showed that in Guatemala, the percentage of 15 and 19-year-olds who have engaged in sexual practices is at 28%. Only a small percentage of the ones who are sexually active are using any kind of contraception, as only a 31% reporting using modern methods. Additionally, there has been a sudden increase of sexual violence against adolescents. Another study conducted in 2015 found that 31% of females and 37% of males ages 15 to 19 have had sex. Of the survey students ages 14 and 17, only 7% said they had been taught about the different topics that make up CSE. The study also showed that most topics related to CSE were taught in other classes, with most students, 72%, saying they were taught about the topics related to sexual and reproductive physiology in biology or health class. Even less individuals, only 31%, reporting being taught about topics related to contraception and unintended pregnancy, while also only 16% reported being taught about values and interpersonal skills. This study also found that teachers were providing inaccurate and incomplete information, as it was reported that 43% of educators were incorrectly teaching that the uses of condoms is not effective in preventing pregnancy. All the data presented is from years in which comprehensive sexuality education should have been mandatorily taught in all Guatemalan schools. What will happen if CSE is banned? What will this data look like? Is it really necessary for more young girls to become mothers or die when given birth to realize how important having this conversation is? Is it really necessary for more young people to contract any kind of sexually transmitted disease to start training teachers on how to teach CSE effectively? Is it really necessary for more young people to experience sexual violence and be traumatized for life to ensure CSE is part of all schools' curriculums? Comprehensive sexuality education is imperative to make sure all children and adolescents understand the importance of a healthy sexual and reproductive development. It should help them improve their knowledge, attitudes, values, and practical skills in order for them to develop positive views of their sexuality. CSE should strive to give accurate and age-appropriate information on different topics, including sexual and reproductive physiology, HIV and STI prevention, contraception and unintended pregnancies, values and interpersonal skills, as well as gender, sexual, and reproductive rights. CSE has been proven to improve the knowledge and self-confidence on individuals when it focuses on human rights and encourages participation from all participants. It also can change attitudes and gender norms, strengthen decision-making and communication skills, and increase contraceptive use amongst sexually active teenagers, when CSE focuses on gender equality and empowerment. Politicians should not be making decisions based on Christian principles, as seen as the reasoning for Law 5272. Not one children, not one adolescent or young individual should be deprived of receiving comprehensive sexual education for a couple politicians believe. CSE is considered a human right, as it gives everyone the tools needed to make educated decisions about their lives from a young age. Banning CSE in Guatemala, or anywhere in the world, is unethical, unconstitutional, and it violates basic human rights. My name is Andrea Quesada, reporting for Human Sex Class News. Stay tuned for more information, as this is a development story.